But I think that when we journal and we write about, like in my case, my journaling is, I'll write about my life and I'll write about the things that I love. And I'll also find myself writing about my characters and the books I want to write.
That's what writing is. It gets us in touch with our real selves. So there can be, it doesn't even have to be an end game, I guess is what you're saying. It's just open up, research yourself, and you can burn it if you want, but don't, because if you have kids, maybe they're
Right.
going to want to read how crazy their old man or their old lady was one of these days. So,
But I love that. I love what you just said about researching the self. That's exactly what it is. The way we research anything, like what smartphone to buy or where to go for vacation. Like, what do we need to know about what it's like to be Tom Pollard or Elizabeth McKetta? Like, that's pretty valuable information if you happen to be one of those people. Yeah, one of the other sort of to that end, a conversation that I've had several times in discussing this book, which I think journaling has made, which is I think a trap for many people, especially many women, that I realize that in part because of my journaling habit, I is there's a section in the book that asks the reader to identify first choices on small scales to then start scaling them to think about what are the bigger first choices. And many conversations I've had, especially with women, come back to this fact that often, you know, this a person will have a first choice, like, oh, I think tonight for dinner I would love to make spring rolls. But the moment the first choice thought comes up, she overrides it with, oh, but my family prefers spaghetti. Like every first choice is immediately suspect and discarded, in part because it is a first choice, because it feels selfish, because we'll be disappointed if we don't have it, like for all sorts of reasons that are hidden and generations old. But isn't that interesting though, that that the first choice feels like something that is dangerous for for many people. And I think this goes back to our conversation pre-podcast, that often first choices and people who pursue them seem threatening because why don't I get a first choice? But I think that when we journal and we write about, like in my case, my journaling is, I'll write about my life and I'll write about the things that I love. And I'll also find myself writing about my characters and the books I want to write. And you can't avoid in my journal that writing is important to me. Like I can't read my journal without recognizing a first choice that my life will be lesser for not having in it. And I'm sure that your journal too, like there's pure distilled Tom energy sources in there that when you write, when you slowly write, when you write by hand or type, you just can't avoid. You can't not look yourself in the eye once you've gotten into that habit.